AST SpaceMobile just dropped their Q2 2025 business update on August 11th, and the execution is absolutely on fire. We're literally months away from commercial launch, the satellites are rolling off the production line, and the cash position is stronger than ever at over $1.5 billion. After years of development, we're finally at the inflection point where this becomes a real business with real revenue. The stock market is starting to wake up to what's happening here. And honestly, after going through these numbers, I think we're still early. This is the kind of operational update that makes you realize why this could be a generational investment opportunity. Before we dive in, though, obviously not financial advice, and the headline that should have everyone's attention: nationwide intermittent service in the United States by the end of 2025. That's in 4 months. Not some vague coming soon promise, but actual commercial service this year. And they're not stopping there. UK, Japan, and Canada launching in Q1 2026. These are massive, wealthy markets with combined populations of over 500 million people. The revenue opportunity just from these 4 countries alone is insane. But here's what really blew my mind. They've already completed assembly of microns for 8 Block 2 Bluebird satellites, and they expect to complete assembly of 40 satellites worth of microns by early 2026. The manufacturing machine is running full speed. FM1, their first Block 2 satellite, is ready to ship this month. We're not talking about prototypes or test units anymore. These are production satellites ready for commercial deployment. The manufacturing scale-up is absolutely beautiful to watch. Capital expenditures hit $322.8 million in Q2, up from $124.1 million in Q1. Yeah, that's a lot of money, but look what they're building. Over 400,000 square feet of manufacturing capacity with 95% vertical integration. They control everything from the microns to the final satellite assembly. This isn't just building satellites. They're building a satellite factory that can pump out these birds at scale. The target is 45 to 60 satellites in orbit during 2025 and 2026, with launches every 1 to 2 months. At that cadence, they'll have their initial constellation up faster than anyone expected. And remember, each of these Block 2 satellites is exponentially more powerful than the Bluebird test satellites that already proved the technology works. We're talking about 10 times the capacity, better coverage, higher speeds. This is the real deal. The spectrum acquisition is a total game changer that I don't think the market fully appreciates yet. 60 megahertz of global S-band spectrum priority rights, plus the L-band access with up to 45 megahertz in the US and Canada, plus their existing low-band spectrum. Combined with their dual-band aggregation technology, they're claiming up to 120 megabits per second peak data rates. That's not satellite internet as we know it. That's genuine broadband speeds to unmodified phones. The competitive moat this creates is massive. Spectrum is finite, and once AST locks it up with their first-mover advantage, competitors will have a hard time matching their capacity. They're not just building a satellite network. They're cornering the market on the spectrum needed to make it work at scale. This is exactly the kind of strategic asset accumulation you want to see. The partnership momentum is absolutely exploding. Over 50 mobile network operators covering nearly 3 billion subscribers. AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone, these aren't small players taking a flyer on new technology. These are the biggest telecommunications companies on Earth betting their future on AST SpaceMobile. The new VI partnership in India is particularly huge. We're talking about a market with over 1 billion people, where traditional infrastructure can't reach huge portions of the population. The revenue opportunity in India alone could be worth tens of billions. And the European joint venture with Vodafone already has expressions of interest from operators in 21 of 27 EU member states. The demand is there, the partners are signed up, and now it's just about lighting up the satellites. And the government business is another massive catalyst that's flying under the radar. 8 contracts with the U.S. government as an end customer, with successful demonstrations for the Navy, Marines, Army, and Space Command. The military applications are worth billions annually, and AST is the only company that can offer true broadband speeds to regular phones from space. No special equipment, no bulky terminals, just the phone in a soldier's pocket, connecting directly to satellites. The strategic value to national security is enormous, and you can bet the government will be a massive customer once the constellation is operational. This isn't speculative. They're already demonstrating the technology and signing contracts. Now let's talk about the financials, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Yes, operating expenses were $51.7 million in Q2, but that's exactly what you'd expect during the final push to commercial deployment. The important number is the 1.5+ billion in liquidity. At current burn rates, that's enough runway to get through commercial launch and well into revenue generation. They raised $875.6 million in the first half of 2025 alone, showing that institutional investors are betting big on this succeeding. The capital markets are wide open for AST, and they've been incredibly smart about raising money when they can, not when they have to. Once commercial service launches and revenue starts flowing, the entire financial picture changes. We go from a pre-revenue development company to a high-growth tech company with a revolutionary product. The technical milestones they've hit are incredibly bullish. The successful Bluebird test satellites proved the technology works. They made the first ever 5G call from space to a regular smartphone. Now they're scaling up with Block 2 satellites that are bigger, more powerful, and ready for commercial service. The 95% vertical integration means they can iterate quickly and control costs as they scale. The manufacturing footprint expansion to 400,000 square feet gives them the capacity to build satellites at a rate that nobody thought possible a few years ago. This isn't theoretical anymore. They're building, launching, and deploying at commercial scale. Every single technical risk that bears worried about has been systematically eliminated. Looking at valuation, we're still in the early innings. The total addressable market for global mobile connectivity is over $1 trillion annually. AST only needs to capture a tiny fraction of that to justify a massive valuation. Once commercial service launches, we're looking at potential revenue of billions annually within 2 to 3 years. At typical SaaS or telecom multiples, that could mean a 50 to 100 billion market cap. We're nowhere near that today, which means the upside is absolutely massive for early investors. The risk reward here is some of the best I've seen in the market. Yes, they're burning cash now, but that's exactly what you want to see. Aggressive investment in a winner-take-all market opportunity. The next 6 to 12 months are going to be absolutely catalytic. FM1 ships this month, followed by regular launches every 1 to 2 months. Commercial service starts in the US by year-end, then rapid international expansion in 2026. Revenue should start flowing in the fourth quarter of 2025 or the first quarter of 2026, and once it does, this transforms from a development story to a growth story. The partners are in place, the satellites are built, the spectrum is secured, and the demand is proven. This is the moment where AST SpaceMobile transitions from promise to delivery. We're literally watching the birth of a new telecommunications giant. The bears who've been calling this impossible are about to watch AST prove them spectacularly wrong. This isn't just a satellite company, it's the future of global communications, and it's happening right now.